and welcome to another episode of the Rorschach Test Podcast. I am your host, Terrell James. I'm sorry, today, that was really arrogant of me. I was trying to say today, I said my name. Anyway, today I have a very special guest with me, Jamie Beebe. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on.
That's good. Thank you for being here. For anybody, if it's your first time watching, what I do here at the Rorschach Test Podcast is I put up a series of Rorschach tests. I ask my guests what they see, and based off of what they see, I connect it to the things that they do for a living and who they are as a person. Jamie does several things, but Jamie, I'm going to let you tell everybody exactly what it is that you do.
Okay. Well, I'm a casting director, so I put people in TV and film. And then I have a podcast called Strictly Stalking, where we interview victims of stalkers. And then I also have a bikini company where I make and sell bikinis.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we're going to get into all of that stuff, but of course, we're going to use the pictures to do it. So, we are going to start here. Okay, so what is it that you said that you saw here?
I said it looked like an old man's face, like all squishy and like a fat guy, kind of like almost like a Santa type of like a Santa Claus type of face, but with
Mhm.
like a mustache and a beard, and like he's all hairy and has a big fat nose.
Okay, okay. So, so you said old man, face is squishy and fat, mustache, beard, super hairy, fat nose. That is very descriptive. So right now I want to talk about you as a casting director, okay? Now, when it comes to auditions, casting directors, you all already know what it is that you're looking for. The actor just has to fit the description as far as how they look and how well that they act. But tell me this, have you ever had someone who didn't necessarily fit the look? They didn't have that description that you were looking for, but their acting was so good that it blew you away that it made your decision hard.
Sure, that happens all the time. And I always put those people through to the producers because ultimately it's not my decision. It's the producers and the directors. We all talk about it and make a decision together. But, and there's been times when it's a completely different look and we go ahead and take the better actor, which is what we always hope for because I don't think that looks are as important in acting as some other people think. I think I'd rather have a better actor. It doesn't really matter to me what they look like.
Hmm.
So yeah, that happens a lot, and it does make it a hard decision, especially if it's like a very looks based type of role, or if I need someone that looks like someone because they're playing somebody else, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Have you ever caught any backlash from just from viewers, from people? They're like, look, this doesn't look like the person that it's supposed to look like. I mean, if it's like one of those roles where they're playing an actual person, somebody who actually existed. Did you ever catch any type of backlash because they're like, listen, yeah, they're good at acting, but they look nothing like the person.
I mean, most of the things that I've cast like that are like on the investigation Discovery Channel and stuff. When they're playing murderers or historical figures or something.
Hmm.
So normally the acting isn't all that important in those. It's a lot of background type of acting. I mean, they're not background actors, but it's like that type where they might not have any lines. They're just kind of walking. They're doing the actions rather than speaking the words.
Hmm.
So I haven't had a whole lot of complaints. Every once in a while, I'll watch something and be like, I'm not sure what I was thinking there with that person, but it works out. So as long as all my producers and directors are happy, that's what matters to me.
Right. Yeah. So that's important. Okay, I get it. Okay. So again, in sticking with that same picture, and also still dealing with you being a director. So the description that you gave me of the way this man looks, the way that you described it, I immediately started thinking of some old man at the casting couch. So, for those of you all who don't know what the casting couch is, the casting couch is in Hollywood. It's the understanding that this particular casting director, if you want the role, then you have to do sexual favors in order to get it, right? So when you gave this description, all I saw was this nasty man, this nasty perverted man just sitting back and just telling this woman, "Hey, if you really want this role, you gotta do some things for me, right?" But so for you as a woman who was a casting director, and knowing that there are a lot of men out here who are using that casting couch to their benefit, do you find it empowering that you are able to actually give women roles based off of their acting abilities?
I mean, I think that the casting couch thing is it hasn't really happened in so long. And it even when it was a my dog, even when it was a thing, I don't think it was as prevalent as people maybe thought. I think it's a little bit more of a myth. Especially like within the casting process,
Mhm.
because when we're doing casting, when we're having auditions and things like that, there's a lot of people in that room. There's at no point where it's available where everyone else would leave and would be like, hey, if you want to do this, you'll get the part.
Okay.
And also for that to happen, I would have to convince the producers and the directors that this person is good enough for the part as well.
Right.
um, so I don't think it was as prevalent. I think it's kind of like a movie thing. Like we kind of put that in movies to be more fun. Um, but
Okay.
I do think that there's problems in any industry, um,
Hmm.
with that. But as far as I think most women that are actors that have gotten their acting jobs, it is based on their acting abilities, and not really anything else. It takes a lot to be able to even get into an office, as an actor,
Hmm.
even to get a audition at all as an actor. Um, so yeah, I mean the casting couch thing, I don't know really. I get the premise of it, and I know that a lot of things have happened throughout Hollywood, but I think it's more of a myth, I guess, than most would think, just because, like I said, I've got three producers, a director, my assistant,
Hmm.
me, and then the actor. So there's not a lot of room for anybody to be like, hey, let's go do this and I'll give you the role. And
Right.
also, like I said, it's made such a decision of so many people that it'd be almost impossible to do that, at least at this point.
Hmm.
Maybe before I was around, I think that maybe it happened, but I don't think as prevalent as people think.
Now, okay, so getting away from that casting couch thing, there are definitely men who are out here who are, sexual predators, and they're preying on both women and men. And if you look at some like Harvey Weinstein, for instance, and the stuff that was going on with him, um, there are definitely some people who have power in this business. And outside of being in a setting where there is a casting couch or even an audition or something like that, there are people who are like, well, look, I would like to get into this business. I want to be an actor or an actress or whatever. And there are these people who are out here that are like, well, listen, if you want to, then you definitely have to, give up something, for that. Um, so that's aside from the casting couch.
Sure.
That's just out. They could be sitting at a bar talking, and they're like, well, they're coming from the standpoint of, well, look, I'm trying to get into this business, and the other person is like, I'm trying to get into your pants, you know. So if we look at it that way, is it empowering for you to be able to give opportunities to people just strictly based off of their acting abilities?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to give anybody a job as an actor, because that's what a lot of people are dreaming about. That's kind of why I like being a casting director, is because everybody likes the casting director. I'm usually
Mhm.
calling with good news. People answer my calls. It's a lot of fun. I
Mhm.
think, and there are definitely people like what you're talking about in the industry. I've met them all. Um, I know that. I mean, I personally know of a manager that that I know that was very much like that. In fact, I think he ended up marrying one of his actresses, who's no longer an actress.
Of course he did.
If that was her goal, I'm not sure.
Right.
He was very much like that, and I watched that for years. I was just astonished that that would go on, and even when I've tried to talk to people about it, it's hard to speak up. It's hard
Mhm.
to speak up about, anything that doesn't have the awareness that it should. And that's why I think like the Me Too movement and all that was, it was great because it did allow people to start speaking up. But yeah, I mean, that goes on. It goes on in any situation. I worked at a fast food restaurant when I was like 16, and I dealt with that there. My manager was like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Bro, I'm 16."
Mm.
He's like, "You could be a manager one day." I was like, "Not in the cards. Like, I do not even want to be a manager at this fast food restaurant."
Right.
So I think that's just always kind of been happening everywhere. Yeah, I love being able to give people roles on their abilities, and I think that I'm kind of in a unique spot in my career. I love doing smaller like indie films, 5 million and under, which allows me to be able to find actors that are maybe, on the cusp of getting greater, bigger roles, or taking a character actor and making him into a leading actor, or, you can give different opportunities to people sometimes when it's a lower budget like that.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So I want to move on to the next picture now. So tell me, what is it that you saw here?
I thought it looked like a big like insect, like a poisonous insect, a scorpion or something like that. Like something that you'd find somewhere tropical, like the Amazon, that would like attack and kill you. Probably while you're sleeping, because you'd see it coming if you weren't sleeping, right?
Right. Okay. All right. So you said something that is a large poisonous insect. All right. So poison is toxic. I want to talk about your podcast, Strictly Stalking. I want to talk about the podcast Strictly Stalking, but I also want to talk about toxic relationships. Okay. That's where the connection is right there. The poison that you see in that picture. I want to talk about that toxic,
Oh yeah.
you know, that poison. So, um, actually, before I even get into this question, tell me a little bit about that podcast.
So, we interview victims of stalkers, survivors of stalkers. Some people are still currently being stalked, or their stalkers in prison or dead. A lot of people are still currently being stalked, because even when you think your stalker goes away, they've usually just started stalking somebody else, and they will be back. Unfortunately, it's very hard to get someone to stop stalking you without help from the police, or some form of justice in that way. So we interview those people, and we're trying to create awareness so that we can change the laws, get more things on the books, that people can and are able to get justice if they're being stalked. It's, like I said, it's really hard. And also just to create that awareness so that people have somewhere to go, if they're afraid that they're being stalked and don't know what to do. I mean, before I started the podcast, I never would have known like who to call. I mean, do you call 911 and say that your ex-boyfriend left flowers at your door? They're going to laugh at you, right? You have to know like how to explain it, that this is a pattern of repeated behavior that you want to stop. And, there's other resources besides 911 that you can call. And so we try to give a lot of advice and stuff on that subject, and also cover like red flags, going into relationships. And you can be stalked by anyone. It's not just relationship stalking.
Mhm.
Um, people have been stalked by their parents, their children, any other family member, people they've dated, been married to, strangers. There's no end in sight.
So, were you did what inspired you to do this podcast? Have you been stalked? Were you the victim of it, and you decided to do this podcast to raise the awareness?
No, I actually wasn't. I was really into true crime. I always have been. And I actually wanted to do like a cool murder podcast, right?
Mhm.
But everyone is doing a cool murder podcast. I don't think any murders go on nowadays without someone doing it on a podcast. So I was kind of like, complaining to my business partner one day, like, oh, I'll never do a podcast because all the murders are already taken. And he was like, well, why don't you do why don't you do a podcast about stalking? And I was like, stalking? Like, I don't know anything about that. I'm not doing that. And I thought about it. I'm like, there's this huge crime out there that I don't know anything about. Like, that's weird. So I started researching it. And I realized that this is a really horrific, traumatic thing that people go through. And it's really hard to get help. No one's talking about it. So that's kind of how it was born. I was like, all right, let's do this. Like, let's create that awareness. Like, let's see what we can, uncover here. And for me, it's exciting to be able to make that difference. I think everybody kind of looks for a way to make a difference in their lives one way or another.
Mhm.
And so I definitely think that our podcast has helped a lot of people, and that was the goal, and we're just kind of moving forward with it. So it's kind of what it is and how it started.
Right. Okay. So the question that I want to ask you based off of the picture and
Mm-hmm.
your description of the picture, again, you were talking about the poison and so poison is toxic. I want to talk about toxic relationships. Have
Mm-hmm.
you found that in the victims that you have interviewed that they were in toxic relationships, and it was those toxic relationships that led to them being stalked?
I mean, sometimes, because sometimes they're just stalked by strangers, but a lot of people that are stalked by an intimate partner, their relationship was pretty toxic to begin with.
Hmm.
And we discuss a lot about domestic violence, which is, something that strikes me. I was in a very violent relationship for a long time, which actually ended right before I started the podcast. So sometimes, it's very easy to get triggered. It's very difficult to talk about that. I mean, I talk about it a lot easier now, obviously, because I've been a lot more open about being in a relationship like that. Because I think that's the only way that women are going to be able to get help is by talking about it. So
Hmm.
we talk a lot about, violence in relationships, domestic violence, toxic relationships, all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of where I come in on that end of it. Luckily, I wasn't stalked, but I was in a very violent relationship. So unfortunately,
Okay. Yeah. Um, well, actually, I was about to ask you something about that, but I'm going to come back to that.
okay.
When we get to the other picture, I do want to touch on that. But again, still dealing with your podcast. So, the other thing that you said that it looks like something would attack or kill you in your sleep, right? In that picture, that's what you saw. So,
Yeah.
tell me this: has hearing these stories of these people being attacked, these people being stalked, has it made it hard for you to sleep at night sometimes?
Um, I actually don't sleep a lot to be to be fair. I don't know if it's because it's hard for me to sleep, or I'm kind of one of those like go, go, go type of person.
Okay.
Um, Especially if I have something on my mind. And, I do oftentimes listen to murder podcasts or watch murder documentaries before I go to bed or as I go to bed at night. But I think for me, I'm really able to compartmentalize that, and like that's research, that's like over here, that's a whole thing, and so it doesn't bother me and keep me up in that way. One thing that does bother me that I think about at night are like the actual people that we're talking to on the podcast. Sometimes there's a lot of times where I finish an interview and I'm worried about that person,
Mhm.
like is their stalker sitting outside their house? Like, are they going to be okay? Like, and that kind of stuff does keep me up at night for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, I can understand that. That's difficult. Has there ever been a time where somebody has shared a story with you, and as soon as the interview was over, you were like, "Look, I want to help you."
Oh yeah. Yeah, we do that a lot. Well, we usually, before we do the actual interview, we'll talk to them like on the phone and discuss, if they need to remain anonymous for the show, like all that kind of stuff. If they're staying safe, if they're able to continue to stay safe, if they come on the show, because that's like our number one priority.
Hmm.
And then, anything that we can do to help. We know a lot of private investigators, a lot of resources. So we definitely have helped a lot of people out in that respect as well.
Okay, that's good. That's great. I love what you're doing. That's amazing. That's amazing because, like you said earlier, there are not a whole lot of people talking about it.
Yeah.
So by you doing this podcast, not only are you raising awareness, but you're actually helping people to protect themselves. So I think that's great. That's amazing. Okay, so now I want to move on to the third picture. So what was it that you said you saw here?
Eyeball, an eye, probably a girl.
A
It looks
girl's eye.
girly to me. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about a girl's eye right here, but I want to talk about your eye.
Okay.
Okay, even though you are a woman, but you said girl, so I'm going
I,
to.
girl, boy, woman, whatever. It's fine.
So, but I want to talk about your company, the Boyfriend Bikini.
Hmm.
So, what was your vision? Just look that eye that you said, that girl's eye. Tell me about you, the girl in your eye, your vision. What was your vision when you came up with the idea for the Boyfriend Bikini?
Sure. So, like I mentioned, I was in a really terrible relationship that there was a lot of domestic violence and emotional, physical, the whole thing, and it sucked. But I really finally one day was able to get out and escape. It was something that I kind of planned for a minute. I'd been planning it. There was a lot of back and forth, like breakup and then he'd come back type of thing. But on Valentine's Day of 2020, I finally kicked him out for good, which was awesome. And then COVID happened like a month later. So there was never really that opportunity, thankfully, that time for him to come back because it was COVID. So during that relationship, there was a lot of like, oh, you're stupid, you can't do anything, and I had really low self-esteem. So once he left, I was like, I'm not going to live like that. I don't really care. Like, I'm going to get better, everything else. I'm going to heal. So I took a minute and thought about all the things that he said I couldn't do that I wanted to do and kind of like made this really, really long list. And it started out with me traveling. I started traveling the world by myself. I've been to, I don't know, maybe 20 countries in the last 3 years. Mostly all by myself. Once in a while, I'll meet a friend or go with a friend, but I'm fine, able to navigate it. I'm safe. It's not that difficult. It's not that bad. So, I knocked traveling off the list. I jumped out of an airplane in Maui, knocked that off the list. I got my scuba diving license, knocked that off the list. I had this huge list of all the things he said I couldn't do. And
Mhm.
one of those was, he's like, well, because I was, oh, I wish I had a bikini company. Like, that'd be so cool. He's like, you could never do that. You didn't know how. And he was right. I didn't know how, but I learned. So it's not that hard.
Mhm. Mhm.
I found a girl out of Paris who helped me make the pattern that I wanted, what I wanted to do. And then I went to Bali and found a manufacturer there that I really liked. It's, ethical manufacturing. So we pay them appropriately and they actually get to work from home, which is really cool. We give them a sewing machine. They work from home. That way they can hang out with their family and their kids. Um, and I had a bunch of bikinis made and then I launched it on Valentine's Day of 2023. So 3 years later to the day, which to me is kind of
Mhm.
fun. And now I had actually wanted to call it the ex-boyfriend bikini because I still had a lot of anger um,
Right. Okay.
about wasting 7 years of my life with this horrible person, and not more, obviously anger directed at him, I mean, whatever, but also anger directed at myself, because like, why did I stay? And I
Hmm.
know why I stayed. It's very difficult to leave a situation like that.
Hmm.
But once you're out of it and things start getting better, like I don't think I would ever be in that situation now. Because I've just grown. I'm a totally different person. At least I hope so.
Hmm.
But I had a lot of anger towards myself. So I was like, I'm gonna call it the ex-boyfriend, and I'm gonna make all this money and haha on him. And I told my girlfriend that, and she was like, that's so negative. Like, that's not anything like how you've been lately. Like, why are you being so negative about this? Like, you don't want to build a whole company that you've wanted your whole life for because of negativity. I was like, oh, you're right. So I decided to turn it around and call it the boyfriend bikini. And then I named each style or color after like a person or type of person that I met in my life that kind of made a positive influence in my life, like a guy that I met made a positive influence. Like there's one named after my dad and my brother, my dog, who's a guy. And like friends and even exes that have been amazing. Like I have an ex that I was with for a very long time, and he's awesome. Like we still talk probably every day. He's married and has a kid and lives in Las Vegas, and I talk to him and his mom all the time. We're all still great friends. So it's totally possible for guys to be awesome and good people. So I kind of wanted to like turn that around and show it like that instead of be all like angry and like.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how the name and the company came out.
Okay, that's cool. Now, on your website for the bikini boy, I'm sorry, for the boyfriend bikini,
Hmm.
you state that you are the victim of domestic violence, as you have also stated on the show.
Yeah.
But also on that website, you say that the boyfriend bikini is about personal growth, finding your inner peace, and claiming your true happiness. So, when you put on your bikini and you look at yourself in the mirror, do you see someone who is a victim of domestic violence, or do you see a person who has grown, found her inner peace, and claimed her true happiness despite everything that you've gone through?
I mean, definitely a person who's grown and changed. Like, and it wasn't easy at all. I think that if it hadn't been like quarantine and lockdown right after I'd gotten out of that relationship, I could have easily gotten back into another relationship, either with him or someone just as bad, which
Hmm.
happens a lot. It's a cycle. And it's really difficult to break that cycle. And like for me, I don't really know how it started. Like I was not in any kind of abusive family life or anything like that growing up. I think, I had, I don't know how I got into that, but I was worried about becoming, a cycle and not being able to see the red flags. So in that healing and regaining my self-confidence and stuff, it took a long time and it was really hard. It was hard work. Like I've been pretty much single for like 3 years because I'm still trying to like make sure and work on that. I mean, I think I'm at a better place now where I probably could start dating, but also I don't know if I really want to, but that's a whole nother discussion. But no, I definitely feel like I've totally transformed, and it doesn't really have anything to do with looks or anything like that. It's what goes on in my head now. It's like I can wake up and probably I look like shit, but I look in the mirror like, hey, like let's get the coffee. Like it doesn't matter to me
Hmm.
um, what I look like, or even really honestly what anybody else looks like. It's more like what's in your brain, like what are you putting out in the world? Can you be positive? Can you be confident with yourself? And I think a lot of people with just a little bit of a changed mindset can be there. Like, and it once you can change your mindset and realize that, like it's not that hard. Um, if I gain weight or lose weight or whatever, like I'm like, cool, whatever. Like I'm not gonna stress about that stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
as long as I can keep my body healthy, because like I'm getting up there, I want to have a heart attack, and healthy and happy is the way to go. And I think so many people, especially like if you're wearing a bikini, you're gonna focus on looks, but that's not what I wanted here. I want people any size, any style of body, anything, put it on. Who cares? You know, and in other countries too, you know, like I said, I've traveled a lot. In other countries, no one's as worried about, not every country, but a lot of countries, no one's as worried about what you look like in your bikini.
Right.
You know, they'll
Mm-hmm.
just put it on. Like, cool. I look however I look and I'm going out to rule the world. Like that's kind of the vibe I wanted to go for.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So it was more of an empowering thing. I love that you took something. Um, you took something that was trauma. You took trauma and you turned it into victory. You know.
Yeah. You know, I think that some of the most compassionate, you know, successful people have done that. I've,
Hmm.
you know, once you have that trauma and you can get over it and you can survive it, damn, like you're unstoppable
Yeah.
because I mean that's a whole nother thing. And I really want, you know, especially women that have been in, you know, those violent relationships to realize that. Because it's really hard. You know, a lot of women have to go to, you know, a shelter, or they have to go move back in with their parents if they're lucky, you know, or they're homeless after they leave. And that's why they go back. It's really, really hard to get out of something like that. So once you have, like, wow, like you're unstoppable, like go do anything, you know?
Right.
That's kind of why I made that list. And I've just been like checking it off because I can.
Hmm. You don't have kids, do you?
I don't.
Yeah, I can tell.
Nope, no kids.
Do you want kids eventually?
I don't know. Uh, I don't know. I can't really answer that. If that were to happen, like if I were to meet somebody that I could trust enough to have a child with, then
Mhm.
perhaps. But otherwise, no.
Otherwise, no. Got you. Okay. All right. Well, look, we have reached a part of the show right now where I call flip the script.
Uh-oh.
So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip every single one of these pictures upside down. And then I'm going to tell you what I see on these pictures. So, based off of what I see, you can ask me a question. You can choose any picture that based off the description that I give. Choose any one of these pictures, or if you want to do two of them or all three, it's completely up to you. But if you want to just do one, that's fine. But you can ask me any question that you want to ask me based off of the answers that I give you.
Okay.
Okay, so this first picture, so this is the one you said the scorpion is poisonous, something that can kill you in your sleep, kill or attack you in your sleep. Now, this is that same picture upside down. And this picture upside down, to me, it looks like a disintegrating alien. So then you said this one, you see a girl's eye. Upside down, I see the eyeball as well, but in the middle, what would be the pupil? It looks like a koala bear to me. And the final picture, this is the one we said you saw the old man's face, his mustache, beard, fat nose, squishy face, all of that stuff. But upside down, this picture looks to me like two angels kissing, and they're kissing above a butterfly. So, which one of these pictures, or if you want to do all of them, however you want to do it, which one of these pictures do you want to use to ask me a question?
Oh, let's talk about aliens.
Okay, so we're going to go with this picture, the disintegrating alien. Okay.
All right, so have you heard about the aliens that just landed in Vegas?
Um, was this last week?
Yeah.
I heard a little bit about it. I didn't hear too much about it, but I heard a little bit about it.
What do you think?
Um, I mean,
Do you think it happened?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. You know what? Growing up, for the longest time, I did not believe in aliens. I thought it was the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Okay.
But as I got older, I started thinking, You know what? I feel like, and this is only speaking for me, if anybody else feels as though that there aren't aliens, I'm not speaking for them. This is only me. I felt that it was arrogant of me to believe that we are the only life form in this universe. So I believe that there's something else that's out there. Plus, there have been just way too many things, too many sightings, too many inexplicable things. So I was like, there probably is something that's out there. Now, I think that they are extremely intelligent. I think that they are far more intelligent than us.
That's not too
Part of
hard.
the reason that I think, what'd you say?
That's not too hard.
No, it's funny you say that because I was about to say part of the reason that I think that they're far more intelligent than us because humans are stupid, and but secondly, in order for them to continue to keep coming here and actually making it here, I think that they have some sort of technology that is far superior than ours. And so they're able to do things that we can't do in return. They're coming here, but we can't seem to make it to wherever they're coming from.
Yeah.
You know, I just I think that and I make the joke often. I wish the aliens would just hurry up and come and
Yeah.
either
It's
take
time.
all of the idiots away or take me to get away from the idiots. Like I make that joke all the time, but I mean, yeah, I think that it's very possible. I think it's very possible that they're here. What I didn't hear the entire story. What did they say happened?
Um, it was a family, like a with like teenage boys and stuff, like a normal everyday family, and they were like, "Hey, an alien ship crashed in our yard, and the aliens are out walking around." And but the thing is like now, I'm a casting director, and so I watch people act all day long.
Hmm.
So you can tell when someone's acting or lying. Like I'm the best. Like if you're lying, I know instantly. It's so
Hmm.
easy because I've watched it over and over and over. So I heard the tape, the 911 tape, because they called 911. I mean, I would too. Like fuck, aliens just landed. Oh, sorry, if I can cuss.
No, you're fine. You can curse this over.
Like aliens in my yard. But I listened to that tape a few times. I'm like, those kids believe every word they're saying, and they are seeing it as they're saying it. Like I 1000% think that whether aliens or not, I don't know, but whatever they think that they saw, they saw.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's the part that kind of fascinated me. The thing that is interesting is that there's no video, there's no footage,
Hmm.
but well, there's some because something definitely landed. Because we see that on like the cop, whatever they wear, the camera, body,
Hmm.
body
The body
cam,
cam.
from the cops and stuff.
Uh,
So there's definitely something landed there. Whether it was something from our own government, aliens, I don't know.
hmm.
But whatever it was, like the kids believe in or the callers believe in what they saw. And I fully think that, which is kind of fascinating to me. But then also, mainstream media has really been talking more and more about aliens. I'm sure
Hmm.
that the powers that be know more than we do. So I feel like they're coming soon,
I would love to interview one of them.
right?
I think it would be great if I can get the first alien interview. Oh my gosh, I'm out of here. I'm
Right?
telling
I,
you.
I think it'd be fun. I'm so curious. I think it'd be great if
Hmm.
aliens came. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like our society hasn't always been very smart about things that are different in
Hmm.
any way. So I worry that we would just try to kill them off, which would be really stupid.
Hmm.
But hopefully not. Hopefully we've grown from that. I mean, think of all the species we've entirely desecrated on
Hmm.
our planet, not to mention our environment.
Right.
But hopefully we could do better with the aliens and not, harm them in any way. But we'll see.
I would hope so because I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think we would win a fight with the aliens. I think they would whip our asses.
Mhm.
Like I said, I think that they are, much smarter than us, far more superior than us. I do not believe we will win that fight.
Well, and I actually think that they've been coming here since forever. I mean, when
Hmm.
I went to Cambodia not that long ago, and I was at Angkor Wat, And they have spaceship drawings there from forever ago when they built Angkor Wat, like I don't know the years, but thousands of years ago. And they look just like the spaceships that we have photos of now. So how would they have known to draw those on the walls and stuff?
Right.
And other things that we have, like how the aliens look, just certain things. It was really interesting. Like from the beginning of time, we've kind of always had that from all the different aspects of society. So I think it's probably been happening, and now we've finally come to the enough technology where we can be like, oh, they're here. Like let's try and maybe now we have enough technology where we can communicate with them if they show up in this
Mhm.
form. I don't know. I'm not sure, but aliens are cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Unless they come and just start trying to kill everybody, then they're not cool anymore. But until that happens, they're pretty cool.
Either way, I mean, I feel like the smartest people will probably prevail. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you hear
Yeah.
me? Well, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
The ones who decide to team up with the aliens. So
Yeah. Oh, I would totally.
yeah,
Hey
definitely.
guys, I'm single. Take me. You never know.
Yep, I would paint myself green and join them. So okay, well, Jamie, this has been great. Um, we're about to go ahead and end, but before we do, I want to give you an opportunity to just let everybody know where they can get in contact with you, where they can find the boyfriend bikini, where they can find your podcast. If you want people to get in contact with you as far as the casting thing, just any information that you want to put out there, you can just give it all right now.
Sure. So the best way to find me is on Instagram. My personal Instagram is feathergirl77, and it's a lot of it's everything. We talk about the podcast. I travel a lot. It's a lot of travel photos, bikini photos. It's the whole thing. As far as the podcast, that Instagram is strictly stalking pod. And then for my bikini company, I have a website or it's at theboyfriendbikini.com, and on Instagram at theboyfriendbikini.
Okay, sounds good. Now, before we get out of here, I have one more picture that I want to show you,
Okay.
and I want you to tell me exactly what it is that you see.
Okay. This podcast is so dope.
And I couldn't agree more. Jamie, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the things that you're doing as far as this the stalking podcast and raising awareness. I also love what you're doing with the boyfriend bikini because of the story behind it. I
Thank
love that you took trauma and turned it into triumph. I love that there was so much that the odds were against you, and and you had somebody who was in your life telling you that you would never be able to do it, and you jumped out there and you did it anyway. You didn't let anything or anybody hold you back. You are an inspiration to so many people, especially young girls and especially women who were in the same shoes that you were in, as far as domestic violence is concerned. There are a lot of people who are dealing with abuse in many forms, not just physical, but emotional and mental as well. And I believe that you are a hero to them and you are an inspiration to them. So I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing and the way that you're just inspiring so many people.
Thank you. Thanks so much for all that. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you again. And for everybody else out there, you all be good to each other.